Did you know why Wayne Gretzky and Michael Jordan are both considered GOATs? You do know what a GOAT is, right? Here I am back with my sports terms and my sports stories. A GOAT transcends the world of sports, and it means the greatest of all times. So, what I'm asking you today is, do you know why Wayne Gretzky is considered to be one of the most professional and best hockey players of all time? It's because when asked why he is as good as he is, Gretzky's answer was, well, I can tell you that I shoot to where the, or I skate, excuse me, I skate to where the puck is going to be, not where it is now. What's he doing? He's anticipating where he's going to have to be and what he's going to have to do. And Michael Jordan, who is considered by many to be the greatest basketball player of all time, how did Michael Jordan get to be so good at that last second 3-point shot from the perimeter? He practiced. He anticipated what was going to happen, just like Gretzky did, at the end of so many games. And he practiced and practiced and practiced until it became second nature to him. Both of these men are GOATs, considered to be the greatest of all time in their individual areas of expertise, because they anticipated and then prepared for the future. Today we're here to talk about work in the age of COVID. And I can just hear you saying, well, who the heck would have ever predicted COVID? Well, that's a whole nother conversation. And in reality, there were very many people, especially in the scientific community, that did predict a pandemic like COVID to be happening as a world event in just about this time period. But as I said, that's another conversation. Let's talk right now about preparing for the world of work that COVID has really just accelerated. So many of the things that we're experiencing right now are things that futurists have been writing about for several years. One of the classic books about living and working successfully in this day and age was written in 2007, 13 years ago, by a guy by the name of Tim Ferriss. How many of you have ever heard of the 4-hour work week? How many of you have ever picked it up and read it, or at least tried to read parts of it, because you wanted to figure out how you could have a 4-hour work week? I mean, really, let's be honest here. Others, like James Altshuler, wrote a book called Choose Yourself, focusing on how to give yourself that anticipatory preparation for what you are going to need to do in the future. Or Taylor Pearson, who wrote a book called The End of Jobs: Money, Meaning, and Freedom Without the 9-to-5. He foresaw what was going to be happening in what we now call the gig culture. Back then, it was just called freelancers. But the reality is there's not that much difference between freelancers and the gig culture. Do you know what that means? Do you know how that applies to you? Have you been anticipating whether or not your skill set is going to be able to be repurposed in a freelance or gig kind of a job? Or what about our book of the month? Next week on Wednesday, which I think is the 11th? I don't know. Next week on Wednesday, a week from tomorrow. So today is the 6th, tomorrow it's the 14th, excuse me. Next week on Wednesday, October 14th, we'll be focusing on our book of the month, which is called The Future of Work by Jacob Morgan. It's another book that is a couple years old, but it foresaw so many of the things that are happening now, things that Morgan always anticipated would happen that just have been somewhat accelerated by the advent of COVID. I mean, think about what we're doing now, Zoom. How many of you in January of 2020, a few 10 months ago, even knew what Zoom was? Some of you maybe who are working actively in business situations with colleagues across the world, you were using Zoom or something like it to connect and to have meetings. But many of us, many of us had no idea what Zoom was, let alone how to use it effectively. Technology has accelerated because of COVID and the needs that COVID has brought to our world, all of the things that we can do from a work perspective. These little devices, I don't even have a new one. And yet, these little devices are more powerful today than many of the full computers that took up a whole room 20 years ago. And everybody has one. Well, maybe not everybody, but certainly a whole lot of people have them. So if you want to talk about working in the age of COVID, right here, right now in October 2020, what you have to be thinking of is anticipating and preparing for the changes of the future. Check out our website at www.do-over.me and look at all of the different resources that are available that talk about the future, that talk about helping you as an individual try to identify what your unique strengths and talents are so that you can learn how to repurpose them for the future. When you look at the website and you look at all of the different options that are available to you, one of the things you'll discover is that, like Wayne Gretzky, do-over.me is preparing you not for today, not for where the jobs are today, but for where the jobs are going to be tomorrow. And like Michael Jordan, we're going to ask you to practice and practice and practice so that when you get thrown into the game in those last seconds, that your body will have its memory and you will be able to shoot that three-point shot and make it more than you miss it. Thank you for joining us today. My name is Cynthia Wade, and I'm the founder and managing director at do-over.me. And this live stream on YouTube is being offered to you today in order to be able to give you an opportunity to learn some of the things that we have learned about what working is like in the age of COVID. So the reality is that there are jobs available. And what you need to do is think about the kinds of jobs that are available. So anything that's related to COVID or COVID related aspects of life. One of my favorite new jobs to talk about and to encourage people to think about is contact tracing. Contact tracing. That's hard to say. So, contact tracing is a brand new category of job. There were some contact tracers that were working typically in public health departments or in not for profits who were involved in working with sexually transmitted diseases. But it was a very small portion of the population. Now, because of COVID, there are hundreds and thousands of jobs available at the government level on a national basis, at a government level on a state basis, and locally at the government level. There are also hundreds and thousands of jobs available for individual organizations, for private sectors who are supplying their services either to the governments or to a company. What is contact tracing? Come on, guys. How can you watch the news and not know what contact tracing is? Contact tracing involves when a person tests positive for COVID, tracking down all of the people that person might have come into contact with during the time that they were contagious to warn them that they were exposed and that they need to quarantine for 14 days in order to make sure that they have not contracted COVID. That's contact tracing. And they're doing it more and more across the country as a way to help contain the COVID-19 virus. These jobs, which many places will train you for, are jobs that you can do at home. Because they usually provide training, you don't necessarily have to have any special skills in order to be able to do the job. You do need to have access to technology in order to be able to talk on the telephone and to track information on a laptop and connect to the internet. But when you do those things and start working, you can get paid upwards of $17 an hour. Some of them go as high as $25 an hour. That's real money, and anybody can do it. So if you haven't looked into contact tracing in your area, please, as soon as we get off this call, you want to Google it and you want to look for contact tracing opportunities, contact tracing jobs near you. The other thing is that if there aren't any things available near you, you can do contact tracing if you're in California and work for a company in New York. Because as I said, all you need is the technology, the phone, the laptop, the internet, in order to be able to give you access to those people. So that's one of the things that everybody who is not working and needs to be working should be looking at. The other thing is anything related logistically to COVID. Excuse me. So think about the tests, the PPE equipment, the ventilators, the medicines, all of the things that people need, whether they're in private situations or public situations or in hospitals, in order to be able to do their work in the time of COVID. All of those companies that are manufacturing and distributing medicines and PPE equipment all need operations managers to be able to figure out how to get stuff back and forth. They need large trucking and air freight companies and contracts in order to be able to get things moving back and forth. That whole world of logistics is huge. And then think about peripherally places like Amazon and Walmart and UPS. All of those places are going to be going crazy with all of the stuff that they're already doing for COVID, but also then as we get closer to the holidays, they're all going to have to get geared up for the holidays. So whether it's inside a warehouse environment, picking and packaging, whether it's in an office environment, setting up the right routes and how many tons of equipment can be put on each rail car or on each cargo plane, or how many boxes of whatever can fit in the back of a panel truck. All of those things are things that right now are jobs that need to be done. The other thing I want to talk about is not just today, but again in the future, jobs that you have to be local to do. So things like fixing your car, building a house, unclogging your toilet, cooking your food, those are all things that can't be outsourced. They need a person on site who's going to crawl underneath the hood of that car in order to find out why it's leaking oil, or who's going to work with an architect and a building manufacturer in order to be able to figure out how many houses can we put up in a day, how many new roofs can we put on, how much new siding we can put on, how can I fix this clog in the toilet so that this person can continue to go on and live their life without being hand tied to the plunger. All of those things are things that somebody has to be here to do. And so as a result of that, all of those things are work that can be done right here and right now. And think about what's going to happen in the future. Even when we all get a handle on COVID, some of this stuff is still going to continue to happen. We're going to get in the habit of getting our groceries delivered. We're going to get in the habit of having all of our household needs delivered. We're going to get in the habit of having somebody come and fix our car, or going locally to have somebody fix our car. Those are things that are not going to go away once we get a handle on COVID. At do-over.me, what we try to do is, as I said, anticipate what's going to happen so that then when we sit down and talk to you and our members, we're helping you to figure out what strengths that you have right here and right now that are going to prepare you for the jobs of tomorrow. That's what we're all about. So I would encourage you, as I said, take a look on our website. It's really simple, do-over.me, do-over.me, all lowercase. Or you know what, better yet, pick up the phone and call me. I love to meet new people. You can reach me at 630-402-0429. Pay attention to our calendar of events and look at what other free things are coming up during the month of October, where we're going to be telling you about the work of the future, not just here and now in COVID, but post-COVID also. So as I mentioned, on the 14th, we have our book discussion. It's free, but you do have to register because we're going to send you a Zoom code, and then we're going to send you an outline, this outline here. And then watch for the other free presentations that we're going to be doing throughout the month. Did you know that we're having a special guest a little bit further in the month? I want to say maybe on, I don't know off the top of my head. I should have looked. I apologize. But look on the calendar for the presentation on negotiations. We're inviting a dynamite powerhouse to come in, Ashley Quinto Powell, who owns her own business and who is going to teach us all how to negotiate for what we're really worth. Don't you all need to know that? Once you find that job, don't you want to be getting paid and have as many benefits as you possibly can? So that's just one of the things you need to look up on our calendar, as well as all the other different presentations that we're doing on the future of work. And one more special thing, on the 15th of October, we're doing something really special, which is an online fundraising opportunity where we're going to invite everybody to play trivia. Who doesn't love trivia? $10 for each household. Again, you have to sign up and register so that we can send you that Zoom link for your household. But then everybody in your household is going to have an opportunity to play trivia for just $10. And there's going to be prizes. We're going to be offering Chicago style pizza, Chicago style popcorn, and a gift certificate. So we've got a lot of things planned. We're doing a lot of things. We're here because we are listening to the things that people are saying about the challenges and the difficulties that you're facing trying to find work in this time of COVID. And we're here to help. So reach out, check out the website, send us an email at info@do-over.me, or as I said, pick up the phone and call me at 630-402-0429. We're here for you. Let us know how we can be of better service. Thank you and have a great day.